Every material is controversial, you could say that, but every material has its place. So Zuidas is probably one of the most important business districts in the Netherlands. Everybody would like to be here as a brand. What's interesting about it is it's close to the city of Amsterdam, but also very close to the airport with the station. You're in 10 minutes there. What's also nice is it's a kind of 24-hour city. What we know normally from business districts, they are very empty during the night, nothing is happening. This was also a problem here actually. The municipality reacted and they have been adding more housing and recreation and also education. So it's becoming a really small city within a city. That's what makes it very interesting. Puls is one good example because it's basically the result of good urban planning. It's one of the first plots where an office tower is combined with housing, with recreation. Actually, it's a small mixed-use building. So we have social housing here. We have some free sector in our tower. This is an office tower. Next door comes a student housing. So it's a very mixed neighborhood. Then part of the program was to add some cinemas or some restaurants, some recreation. The urban plan is completely defined by the municipality, yes. It's about creating diversity. It's also about offering different houses on the market. So there is this rule from the municipality 40-20. 40% social, 40% middle segment build, and 20% you're allowed to do free sector. So it's very demanding on the developer to make a project feasible. It's so obvious. We try to face most of the houses towards south and turn our back towards the ring. So we try to get away from the noise and open ourselves towards the south. And the office building helped us because the office building is not restricted by noise and daylight. So the office wrapped around the housing and created a wall towards the noise. And the housing went inside towards the inner court where it's more intimacy and there is green and silence and sun, of course. We found from beginning on that the inner court is very small, very narrow. So we felt it would make sense if we would change the footprint of the building and then we basically pull our stomach a bit in the middle between the two towers and giving a bit more space to the public green. It works for the housing on the ground floor, but it also works for the whole block. And then towards the inner court, we thought, wow, that would be nice in the middle of Zuidas to create housing which are ground bounded for families, to bring in families, including families within this neighborhood. We created garden lofts towards the inner court. They go over 3 floors. We have on the ground floor a double height space with a mezzanine and then over it bedrooms. For us it's important to include different typologies because it attracts different people. You have young people, you have established people, you have different type of people coming together in the block and creating a community. We have a kind of a gallery houses here on the upper floors over the ground-mounted houses. When it came to the tower, we said to the developer, let's not make 1 penthouse or 2 penthouses. Let's divide the space, making 9 penthouses, nine narrow ones, but then within the height. We also have a bigger outside space for smaller apartments, a communal outside space on the roof between the 2 towers. The forest, which is accessed by the office tower only. There is a footpath, not in the landscape, it's floating over the landscape. You're a guest. There are trees which has been planted, prepared about, I think, a year before construction. The trees were 8 meters high when we planted them. If you make a section through the middle part of the building, you have the storage for water. The rainwater is all collected under the basement. Then you have the parking garage, and then you have the housing. Then you have next to the housing the restaurants, and then you have the cinemas, huge cinema, and then you have over it office, and then you have the landscape. It's like madness. The municipality asked us in the tender to create a building which is kind of more plasticity. And when we talked to the technical advisor about the noise, because there is a noise issue here, he said you have to create a kind of in-between space where fresh air is coming and the apartment is getting ventilated only by this in-between space. So he said airker, and then we thought, wow, an airker, the Amsterdamse airker. So the whole Amsterdam South is full of it actually everywhere. That was where the idea came from. It came very fast. So we will be creating a facade which has plasticity, and we have this bay window from Amsterdam, and then we make a vertical version of it. So that will give the tower the identity. So that everything came together, the material, the color of it, orange. It was just a upcircle to finish the design. There is brick everywhere. If we looked into the different materials, it was very difficult to fulfill the design. And the municipality was very strict on it. We could not change the design. There was a moment, I don't know where this material came from. It was suddenly on the table. And somebody said, what do you think about this material? And then we looked at it and what is this? We visited the factory, how it is made. Originally it was made for renovations. You can really imitate the brick. You can imitate it so well that you could not see it that the buildings are renovated. We thought, wow, that's an interesting material because to some level it fulfills the sustainability levels because of its weight and because that it's produced under low temperature comparing to brick. Then we looked into references. Is there any tower built like this? You know, we know it from low-rise buildings in Germany, also some in Netherlands, but a tower like this, is it built? We found some examples. It was not really residential, but then it was good enough to show it to municipality to persuade them to go with this material. What was interesting for us, architects, they are not interested in this material because it's not a real material.
In mijn optiek kan ook in metselwerk worden gewerkt, alleen er zijn zoveel overstekken en rare hoeken waardoor het te complex wordt en eigenlijk de mineraalstrips een logische keuze is voor dit project.
What's interesting about it is it worked very well for our project. You know, if the facade was flat, completely flat, you would say, well, it makes sense to use brick. But here the material is light and it's easy. You can just wrap it around like a wallpaper and then you see a kind of a monolithic architecture, and that there is a kind of a twist in it. You think, hey, how is the brick there standing, gluing on the ceiling? You know, it gives it a kind of a contemporary identity. You have the structural facade, then you have the insulation, then you have some kind of net and etc. And then they apply the final facade material.
In het begin van het traject is er gekozen tussen brieven, beton en HSB-elementen. En uiteindelijk is er voor HSB gekozen omdat er zoveel variatie in de gevel is dat repetitie er niet aanwezig is. Waardoor het niet efficiënt was om brieven beton te kiezen, maar juist HSB met minerale strips.
Samen met de aannemer hebben we gekeken van welke isolatiewaarden we eigenlijk kunnen halen uit het hout-skeletbouwelement en welke isolatiewaarden wij hebben toegevoegd met onze minerale wolplaat.
The insulation of the building is going up and down and everywhere.
Vanwege de dynamiek van de gevel en dus ook de rare vormen die we aanwezig hebben, is het materiaal van steel heel erg fijn om de wensen van de architect te kunnen vervullen.
Met alle erkertjes, inwendige hoeken, uitwendige hoeken, aansluitingen op andere bouwdelen, zaten daar nogal wat lastige details in.
Onze grootste zorg was de maakbaarheid en de garantie van de gevel. En gelukkig kon beide factoren worden vervuld door STO. We hebben samen een werkplan opgetuigd en gemaakt met de bijbehorende detailleringen.
Bij het maken van het plan hebben we een aantal intensieve bijeenkomsten gehad tot uiteindelijk komen tot het werkboek zoals het in eerste instantie gemaakt is.
STO op de achtergrond ook met de verwerker bezig. Dus dan blijven wij nog heel eventjes als werkvoorbereiding buiten beeld. Om puur te kijken naar de verwerking van het materiaal.
Dat is niet zomaar een vlakke gevel, zeg maar. Er zitten 600 Amsterdamse erkers in. De architect had bepaalde wensen. En dan was meer de vraag van hoe krijg je alles goed uitgelijnd en hoe ga je de hoeken goed krijgen en alle detaillering op de juiste maatvoering te krijgen. Dus daar zit heel veel uitdaging in.
Waar werking plaatsvindt en dat je dan ook merkt dat je aan elkaar optrekt en een mooi resultaat weet te bereiken.
En lopend het werk zijn er altijd wel wat details die je tegenkomt. En ben ik gemiddeld ongeveer 1 keer in de week hier op de bouwplaats geweest om samen met Vorm en met het huis de nieuwe details te bespreken en uit te werken en aan te vullen in het werkplan. Een detail wat aangepast is bijvoorbeeld de overgang van een vloerrand naar een houtskletbouwelement. Deze staan in het ontwerp op tekening altijd als een rechte lijn, maar door de toleranties van de bouwmaterialen is dat in de uitvoering soms wel eens wat anders en zal het detail daar ook op aangepast moeten worden.
Kijk, je hebt een afbouw in de betonwerkzaamheden, je HSB-elementen, je ramen. Dus er zijn heel veel verschillende manieren waardoor je dus moet opletten of het alles goed te lood staat en de maatvoering goed is. Ja, en dat lukt niet altijd, dus dan heb je heel veel werkzaamheden extra om te zorgen dat het gevelton in een lijn loopt. En dan moet je zorgen dat de strips al op de juiste maatvoering uitkomen. De lijn in het metselwerk, om dat goed voor elkaar te krijgen, is constant goed op te letten, verschillende meetpunten te maken. We maken loodlijnen, dus laten we gewoon echt lijnen naar beneden lopen. We pakken lasers, veel meten. Soms plakken we wat strips om te kijken of komt dit goed uit.
Het grote voordeel is, omdat de gevel zo dynamisch is en zoveel variatie heeft, dat door de mineraalstrips als een soort slangenhuid eromheen gevouwen kan worden.
We have made a building from somewhere and anywhere. The office tower is from anywhere. You know, this tower could be in Dubai, could be in New York, could be anywhere, because they should attract all different type of people. But the housing should be local, we think, because that gives the city and the neighborhood its identity. So a building from somewhere and anywhere, and together they create this mixed-use building.
I think it's the place where it is and how it looks that make it a great building.
Ik ben trots op wat mijn jongens gepresteerd hebben, omdat ze heel veel moesten nadenken met de hoogtes, de steigers, de kap. Als we nog zo'n gebouw mogen doen, doen we het graag. We zijn er niet van geschrokken.
Ik heb 4 jaar aan dit project gezeten. Ik kan bijna elk hoekje van het gebouw. En een van de mooie momenten was dat alle partijen, inclusief architect, op de steiger stond. Waarbij de architect ook tevreden was over het werk.